This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition. Today's call is a walk-in freezer. They're complaining that it's dripping water, which, okay, that doesn't seem like that much dripping, but the further we look into this though, when we come back here, we've got a KE2 low temp, let's defrost controller, but look right there, we got a chunk of ice. So our first step is gonna be to shut this system down, and also that ice is up in the evaporator in here. So we're gonna shut this down, we're gonna get all the ice melted, we're gonna verify that while we're doing that, we're gonna use hot water, we'll make sure that the drain's running and everything, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So I don't know if they're complaining about the water on the ceiling, it really doesn't look that bad, or if they're truly complaining about those 3 drops on the ground, but we'll see. But first step, we're gonna head up top. It's clearly down to temp, ice cream's nice and firm, which the ice cream has to be a -10 for it to be firm, so we know the temps are fine. So we'll just start by getting the ice melted and go from there. Walk-in freezer is this guy right here. Now, oh, interestingly enough, only 1 condenser fan motor is running, but it kind of took me by surprise. This thing has 2 condenser fan motors, but I remember I've looked into this before. There's a fan cycling switch right there. So that fan cycling switch controls that 1 condenser fan motor, because we have a dual pressure control right here that does high and low. So we're probably okay on the fan motor, but that is definitely something we're gonna check on when we do get this system back up and running properly. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and shut it down right here. That kills power to everything, but we'll double check that downstairs and we'll get the evaporator pulled apart and get it all defrosted. So we're pulling out the motor bracket because we don't want the motor to get wet. We did our best. We did have to melt a little bit of water just to be able to get to the electrical, but now we've got it out so we can really go to town. We'll open up that expansion valve section and we'll get it all melted and defrosted. All right, we noticed that we come over here and this thing's barely trickling out and the pan is full. So we've got a problem here too. This should be flowing. Let's give it a little love tap. See if this does anything for us. Oh yeah, stuff's coming out. Cardboard dust for sure. Look at all the chunks that are coming out right now. There's a bunch of stuff coming out. So we'll get some water on the other end too. It looks like it's about to break free. All right, we got it now. I just tapped it a couple times, back flushed it, and we're gonna rinse it a bunch, but it's flowing really good now. When you're working in freezers, we're in a walk-in freezer right now, and so we had the tiniest bit of water start dripping out of the drain because it was plugged up. And when it gets onto the floor, especially on a working freezer, this is all ice now, and it becomes a very, very slippery safety hazard. So you want to be very careful, and that's why we're so critical about not getting water on the floor, because it's like almost impossible to get rid of this now. These electric strip heaters shouldn't be hanging down like this, and the reason why they're hanging down is the clips are broken. So that's a clip right there, there's another piece of a clip, they're just rotted out, and one of them is resting on a screw that's coming through the back of the drain pan, and it's just sitting there resting on it. So we need to talk to them about these new heaters, because they need to get these things taken care of before they become an emergency service call and short out and shut the whole system down. Don't just assume it's where you see it, you know, on the sides, because look, it's all in here too, nice and thick. So gotta think big here. We're not here to just melt just a tiny bit of ice. We want to make sure it's all gone, and then we're going to get to the bottom, if we can, of why it's doing that. More than likely it's just from them leaving doors open and stuff, and ice accumulating in places that the defrost heaters don't reach. That's pretty typical. You notice how it's all in the top corner, because the defrost heater doesn't do as good of a job getting up there in the top corner. That's the last bit of ice to be melted before defrost termination kicks out. So it's pretty typical to have ice like this. I think it's been here for a while and the customer just hasn't called is all. Now that we got the drain, we focused on the drain, got it cleared. So now it's draining a lot better. We also have a pan here so that way we can defrost the electrical section over there and not get it all over the shelves and everything. So when you're filling these up though, that's another thing. You want to make sure you don't fill these more than halfway, because now you got to walk all the way out without spilling it everywhere. So you don't want to overfill those things. If you look down in this drain pan, all these little things right there, those are pieces of aluminum. This drain pan is rotting away too. So there's no sense I don't think the customer's gonna want to, it's not just the drain pan, I think the fins are rotting away too. But I don't think the customer's gonna want to change a drain pan, a bottom heater. They'd rather probably just put in a whole evaporator coil, but that's the customer's decision to make. We've got it defrosted all the way, everything. Now we're gonna clean up our messes, put it back together, and test the system and see if there's anything wrong with it that we can find. All right, we got it all defrosted, but something I wanna point out is, look at that. Why do you think you have ice in the corners? What's going on? Look at this, watch this. The whole roof, the aluminum cladding is separating from the insulation. It's allowing warm air to come into the box. You can see how you got like cold spots right there. That's warm air coming in, intruding. You can see it right there too. There's a big frost spot. It's more than just sealing the box. The walls are separating in this. So we're just doing our best to wipe up everything we can, but we're turning the power on right now. Went ahead and rinsed off the fan guards too. Power's on. So we just got to wait for the startup. This does utilize double sensors, one in each side of the coil, to help make sure that it's defrosted all the way. That's one flaw of electronic defrost, is especially on the KE2s. If you can, you got to utilize the double sensors. But anyways, that will help to prevent some of these problems. Usually you get it over in the expansion valve section, so I honestly think it's just time to replace this coil, but then the customer also needs to, there's not much we can do about the box. They're gonna have to get ready to replace the walls, which seems sad because this restaurant's only like 15 years old, but it's a good sign that the evaporator fan motors did not turn on with the liquid line solenoid valve. We just heard the big thump, the green light on the thing. That means that we are delaying the fans before we turn them on. They're looking for a coil temperature before it energizes the evaporator fan motors, which is a very good sign. Now the evaporator fan motors are turned on. All moving air, the right amount of air, that's good. So we're gonna let this box get cold, and we're just gonna knock off a little bit more ice in different spots. Again, warm air intrusion too, right there. All right, the equipment is running. That other condenser fan motor is running now. And sight glass is clear, which it should be. We're just waiting for the box to kind of get a little bit colder, but we're good on that. I'm not suspecting refrigerant related issues. Not judging by that ice. That ice to me was just residual. It was just the top corner. It was just residual from the defrost heaters not working correctly. Could have something to do with the fact that the heaters are falling down, but then also them having all the air leaks in the box and stuff. We'll have a look at the contactor real quick, but the condenser's clean, so it's fairly recently cleaned. You can see this one has some hail damage. We usually don't do much for hail here because we don't get hail, but we're out in the desert, so this is kind of a extreme location. But okay, we're gonna open this up electrical right here and have a look in here. We opened up the contactor because I saw like the white marks from like the residual powder crap all there, but it doesn't really look to be a problem. The points look fine. We shut it off, so we're gonna go ahead and turn this back on and then put this cover on. All right, so let's get into this controller and see what we got going on. I'll hold this button down, set for -10, that's good. Okay, and then what we gotta do is I've got a manual right here. We're gonna go through this manual. All right, temp alarm delay, I'm not worried about that. Low temp alarm, not worried about that. No, not worried about high temp alarm. Fan state during defrost is off. Off if electric, on if air, that's correct. So we hit that, it should be off, that's correct. DRNT, drain time. Let's see how long it sets for drain time. 2 minutes, I'm fine with that. DFT is defrost length. That's defrost length for the time, 40 minutes. See, to me, that's slightly, well, it is what it is. I'll leave it there. Okay, so then the next one is gonna be DTSP. DTSP, defrost termination temperature set point. We're gonna hit that, 55 degrees. I mean, that seems sufficient. So it's gonna look at both sensors and get to 55 degrees. Let's go ahead and bump it up just a little bit, because we know it's having a hard time getting those top corners, so we'll go up to 60. So it's gonna look at time or temperature, and it's going to terminate the defrost. So we're going to go right there, enter, hold it down. Okay, defrost per day, 6, seems sufficient. DTYP, type of defrost should be electric. That's correct. And then let's see what the last one, compressor starts per hour should be off. Differentials 3. Okay, so we're good. I'm happy with that. Box is at 16. It'll be a few minutes and it'll be down to temp where it should be. I think that their problem, we increased the defrost time slightly, but I think that they've just got warm air intruding into this box, coming through those corners and possibly from them leaving the door open, and it's just accumulating, you know. And then the coil, the electric defrost does its job. We increased the defrost termination temperature by 5 degrees. Let's see if that helps us a little bit, but that's pretty much it on this one. Don't really see much else. We're gonna talk to the customer about all the repairs they need to make, and I'm gonna strongly urge them to consider replacing this equipment. Now, it's not just because it needs a heater and a drain pan and a fan guard. It's because this is also 404A refrigerant, and that's being phased out. So right now, the price of 404A refrigerant is getting really expensive. So it's in the customer's best interest, when they get an opportunity to replace this equipment, to eliminate really expensive repairs in the future, especially since this is from 2008. So we were just discussing, this is our ice cream right here, and we had it off for about 2 hours, but this is pretty darn firm. Like, and that's a really good indication when you have ice cream. If it's hard when you come in the morning, that box is getting to -10, because ice cream needs to be -10 for it to be rock hard. So this has been off for about 2 hours, so it's a little bit soft, but that's just because we had the door open and the temps coming up. When we got here, this box was at like 5 degrees or something. More than likely it just come out of a defrost, but it's pretty cold in here, and it's not very full either, so yeah, we should be good. So we also noticed that the door sweep when we were leaving wasn't making, it had a bunch of ice on it, so we pulled it off, defrosted it, and we're gonna reset it so that way it's touching the ground, because it wasn't touching the ground. The other thing is that, notice that temperature controller doesn't have a display. The customer came in here right now, propped this door open, but they turned the pump down timer on the wall, which they're supposed to, so that's a good sign. But I still hate these right here are a problem. They shouldn't be tying to this, because this is fiberglass and this is the only way to get out of the box. When this breaks, they're stuck in there. So I always advise them not to use these to tie to, but you can only tell them so many ways, you know what I mean, Burn? We get down here, and yeah, it's rubbing the threshold now, so that's good. There's this big old chunk of ice down there, but that should be good. Yeah, they're good to go. We'll flip this guy back into refrigeration mode. There you go. Evaporator should power back up. Yep. And we're just on a delay, so we'll give it a second. It'll turn back on. These calls aren't always like super overcomplicated things, but it's really easy to walk in and have the customer complaining about, you know, like a drip, and you look and you're like, oh, there's a little ice, and defrost it and ignore the drain. Okay, again, we got to solve the problem. Now, that drain might have been part of the dripping, who knows? Because what I started to notice is that when that drain pan filled up, it actually started dripping because one of the screws on the back was loose and it was coming through the screw hole. So, you know, we got to think big here. You got to look at everything. Now, you also have to know when to say enough is enough, right? And I didn't see need to put service gauges on here because the symptoms of the unit, the customer's complaint, none of that indicated that there was a refrigeration problem, okay? I really appreciate you making it to the end of the video. Thank you so very much. If you haven't already, please consider checking out my website, HVACRvideos.com, where we have merchandise available such as these hats. Great way to help support the channel. But you know, the easiest way to support this channel is literally just watch the videos from beginning to end. That really is the easiest way. You can also go to PayPal, Patreon, YouTube channel memberships. There's links in the show notes of this video for each one of those. And my website again, HVACRvideos.com. And last but not least, TrueTechTools.com. If you go to TrueTechTools.com, I have an affiliate program set up with them. You find something you like on their website at checkout. Use my affiliate code BIGPICTURE, one word, okay? Big Picture, one word, will get you a nice little discount on majority of the items, and it's a great way to help support the channel. And when you do get a discount, I get a small commission from that too. So it's a great way to help support. Thank you so very much. I really do appreciate you, and hope to catch you on the next one.